Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and today we're going to check out something a little interesting. We're going to check out Black Bottle. This is a Scotch, and I'm going to bring it up right away just because I'm quite impressed with this. Picked it up in Cheyenne a couple of weeks ago on my travels, and I paid $33.99. So call it $34. A really cheap Scotch, really cheap. I mean, it's a cheaper Scotch for sure. And I would say it's a blended Scotch whiskey. I'm gonna say that this is a bit of a sleeper. Okay, so a blended Scotch typically, and I would assume this too, has a grain whiskey in it, and normally I can pick that out, right? Because it's basically a vodka or neutral spirit type whiskey type whiskey. Okay, so those two things have very different meanings as far as the level of alcohol that it's distilled out at. But let's assume that it's distilled under 180 or under 160, and it's just a grain alcohol that's coming out of it. In almost every single blended Scotch, I can taste that flavor, right? So whether it's Johnny Walker or Dewar's or any of the other cheap blended whiskeys, even some of the non-cheap blended whiskeys, if it's a blended whiskey, I can pick out that flavor almost every single time. I cannot pick it out in this, or at least I haven't been able to. We'll see what happens when we get into the bottle today. But by and large, I have not been able to pick it out. My wife actually had a glass of this the other night, and when she brought it up, I was way off the mark, right? Because it smelled like a very sweet and fruity bourbon to me. Um, and it tasted, I mean, it was excellent the other night. It just was rounded, sweet, had just the slightest tinge of smoke to it. I mean, most people probably couldn't even pick it out. I mean, it was just a really, really nice whiskey. So when you're talking monkey shoulder, for me, I can get it for like $25 to $27. Which I really enjoy. That's a good cheap. That's a blended single malt. Now, a blended single malt, I'd reach for a blended single malt before a blended whiskey. However, this one I think will maybe cast doubt on that statement. And I got a handful of blended whiskeys here that are under $30, but none of them are as good as this one, in my opinion. Hopefully that holds true on camera here. But a little bit of a sleeper. It's called Black Bottle. It's by sorry, it's by Gordon Graham and Company. They've done several other whiskeys that I've reviewed in the past. And what they say is curiously rich, slightly smoky whiskey, crafted from a secret recipe. Now, it is a screw top, but you know what? This would be a great introductory whiskey to people, especially if you're coming from a bourbon profile, because hopefully this stands up to it. But man, the other night it was just sweet, and it smelled like the other night. It smelled like a finished bourbon. It had that sweet, fruity. Okay, slightly different today, but not by much. It has a little bit more malt in the nose, but a good sweet malt, not that nasty vomity smell. It's not. It doesn't go that way. It goes the other direction where it's kind of that grain, sweet Highland Park kind of malt smell. And there we go. There's some fruit, dark fruit, kind of cherry, brown sugar, and malt. You really reach in there, you might pick out a little bit of kind of briny water. I have no idea what whiskeys have gone into this, but man, and I might be imagining things, maybe there's no brininess in there at all, but you get the malt. I get none of the grain whiskey in the nose, which I'm not even saying there is any in here, but most budget blends have grain whiskey in it. But I'm not getting that sharp note that I normally find. I could be convinced it's a bourbon, although I do pick up that maltiness in there a little bit. On the taste, man, okay. The taste is just, it's just phenomenally good. It's super sweet, brown sugar, vanilla, like a very hefty, rich, creamy caramel, a very nice, creamy mouthfeel. And then, like, towards the beginning of the finish, there's like a nice hint of smoke in there. It's not overwhelming or overpowering. It's just a little bit to say, hey, this is a nice smoky scotch in there. Um, this is an amazing bottle for what it is, right? It's a great introductory. If you want to introduce somebody to smoky scotch, this would be a good one because it has just a little bit, just enough to say, hey, there's some smoke in there, but in a very nice way. It was a very nice. The nose didn't change, by the way. It's like a wood. Boy, how would you? It's basically like the smell of s'mores in flavor. Like there's like a graham crackery, smoky, campfirey, but like mixed with a sweet honey graham cracker sweetness, well rounded. I mean, man, this is just a killer bottle for 34 bucks. I'm going to be buying another one of these if I can find one. I've never seen it around town, so it was kind of interesting to see it down in Cheyenne. So thankfully, I was able to pick that up. This is a sleeper bottle, I think. So if you want to dip your toe into scotch at all, if you're a bourbon fan and you like sweeter whiskey, give this a shot. Also, if you want to try getting into some smoky scotches, so if you're a scotch fan, or if you think you might be interested in something that has some smoke in it, this would be a great introductory to it because the smoke is there, it's present, it's detectable, but it's not overwhelming and it's not harsh in any way, shape, or form. And it's wrapped around all these really nice, sweet notes. So there you go. Black bottle, sleeper blended bourbon, $33.99 in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So 34 bucks. Hopefully it's somewhere in that neighborhood for you. Might be even cheaper if you have a Total Wine or something like that near you. Highly encourage you to pick up a bottle, give it a rip. Let me know what you think. Drop in the comments down below what you can find a bottle for in your area if you can find it. Also, and it should not. This should be a widely distributed bottle, so it should not be that difficult to find, unless your state's like Wyoming, where all the whiskey has to go through the state warehouse, and it's just a giant pain in the ass. But that's another conversation. Anyways, let me know what you can find it for in your area. I'd be curious to see. Also, drop in the comments your experience with it, because hopefully, if you've had it, you find it as enjoyable as I do. I'm always on the lookout for a nice, easy drinking, cheap scotch. I love. Let's see here. I got the McClellans. You've heard me talk about them quite a bit in the past. Let's see here. This is the Lowland and the Isla. I have also had the Highland. Big fan of McClellan's. At Total Wines in Wisconsin, they were $17 a bottle. Down in Casper, I can pick up a 175 of the Isla for 38 bucks, 39 bucks, something like that. So super, super cheap. 3 years old. Excellent drinking whiskeys. I liked all the varieties I've had so far. And I've heard there's a Speyside, although I've never seen one. So looking for that. But those are in the same category as this as far as good drinking whiskeys, although those are all single malts. This is a blended whiskey, but man, it's just good. It really is. So keep your eyes out for it. If you find it and want to dip into the Scotch world, I highly recommend this. It's a great way to go. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not even going to say too much about, checking out all the other channels or whatever else. Like, comment, subscribe, share with anybody who you think this would be good. And as always, thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day, and we'll catch you in the next video.